Yeah, so yesterday we slowed down just a little bit, which is good because we were moving at a pretty good pace. And so we're gonna do a quick Q&A on Express Postgres right here, and then we're gonna continue on to Express Mutations, which I'm sure a number of you are already working on, and I'm gonna do like a little bit of a demo for that as well, since we didn't have an official exercise introduction. So I do want to give some words and context to that, even if you've made some good progress. So in Slack, I kind of gave y'all a heads up for the route handlers. I want you to go ahead and cover for Express Postgres. So we'll go ahead, Han, if you wouldn't mind leading this off, let me know if you're not ready for any reason, and we'll adjust. But if you want to cover the get route for API films, and let me set sharing to be possible, and then also the get request for API films. By ID.
Okay. Do I share or
Yeah, yeah. If you could share, that'd be great. Because then you can run that terminal command.
can you see my screen okay?
Oh, actually, I can't because I'm still sharing mine. So I was here. Let me. Or I thought I was. No, I wasn't sharing mine. Are you sharing your screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Is anyone else seeing it?
It says
Trady.
that both of you are sharing at the same time.
Oh, okay.
I'll start first.
Oh no no no. Let me stop. There we go. Okay, my brain wasn't functioning. Okay, go ahead, Han. There we go. We see
Okay.
it.
Um, so for the app slash film, so we need to get method we need to get a method of app of express of instance with a URL API slash films and async function with a try catch. So so in the try component, we can write the SQL and assign to a constant variable SQL,
Mhm.
and we execute this SQL query by using the query method of DB what's this called? DB property? Sorry,
Yeah, yeah, that's our database connection object, and it has that query method
object.
on it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Database object. Um, and we put the SQL which holding the actual we put SQL which holding the SQL uh, inside the parameter and execute this execute this line will execute the SQL, and I put a wait, so this has to be done, then then execute the next line. After this execute, it stores the information into the result um, variable. And now I can just use send method of REST object to send the response to the client. And if I catch any error, I just display the error. Um, to um, let's now let's try. It gets all the uh, once I run this command, it will run this URL and get the response from server. Um,
Yeah,
and
awesome.
yeah, and the second one is I need to get a specific one. For example, I want to get the film ID 88886.
Mhm.
So so first I need to um, oh I forgot to read code read this. So I need a get method of app um, app object with a URL API slash film slash film ID, and I need to use a sync function to do the try and catch. So first I need to grab the ID the user want to get. So I can use the request.params to get the film ID. And then I store a SQL statement into a SQL variable and um, run this SQL by using query method of database object. Um, and um, um, here because this the first argument is my SQL statement, and the second is an array, and whatever the order of my array matters whenever
Hmm.
so if I put a film ID in the first one, so in my SQL I say it $1 to represent the position of this film ID. Um, and see if there's a second one, I can I just put it in the corresponding position. See if there's a second position, I'll just put a 2. So if there's
Hmm.
a ID so, here, then here I gotta make this 2.
Hmm.
Um, and um, then I need to get a result. So so if I console log the result, I can see there's it's an object, and if I take the rows, the first index of rows, that's my film result for the film ID for the specific film ID. If this doesn't show, um, if they then didn't find anything, I will throw arrow that the ID this ID is not found,
Hmm.
and then I send my response to the server. Um, to run this, so let's say I want to get AA6. I can I get this one because it's stored at the row the index 0,
Hmm. Yeah.
and if I want to get some random, it will throw this arrow. The ID is not found.
Awesome. Yeah. Well done. Good explanations as you're talking through the code as well. That's great. Does anyone have any questions for Han or myself about those two route handlers? Yeah, and then I think Han demonstrated on line 56 that you don't always have to have that const params and setting it to an array. You can just put that array right in that query method. So the way you put film ID in an array right there, it's a completely fine approach to not create a variable called params. Awesome, cool. Yeah, Trey, if you're ready, do you want to walk us through that last endpoint with the put request?
I'm not really ready, but we'll give it a shot.
But you're willing, so that's all that
Yes.
matters.
So for this one, I got the put, which updates a single film title based on the film ID,
Hmm.
or it returns a 404 error. So for this one, I did the URL of API films and then film ID with the async callback function
Hmm.
with the try block where I extract the film ID from the rec params and then the title from the rec query.
Hmm.
And then if not film ID, throw the error. And then also if not title, throw the 400 error. And then set the SQL statement, assigned it to a variable. And then on this one, safeguard against the injection, assign the $1 and $2, and then params assigned title and film ID array to params, and then the await the DB query object with the SQL and params to results, and then assigned the result to updated film, and then I forgot to delete that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
So I just wanted to make sure I was getting
Yeah.
the thing. And then I said, if not, updated film, throw the 404 error, and then send updated film to the client, and then catch the errors. And then for this one, sorry, I should have been ready.
No, no worries.
So if I try to update a film title, for this one, I just said title 17. I think it was called Alone Trip, so I'm just going to change it to Trip Alone, and then hit enter.
I think you might have had a little something on the end you didn't expect there on that client request. Looks like there's an extra question mark. So you're in, yeah, there you go. Yeah, maybe
Huh.
try doing the up arrow one more time and then you can do some backspaces, I think.
I'm sorry. I don't know if y'all can hear all that going on in the background. It's been a crazy morning around
No,
here.
nope, Zoom does a great job of, okay. What do we got going on? Triple. Let's see, why are we running into this? 8080 API film 17 title equals. Why don't you do exit out of that and just try maybe typing it in by hand? There might be some funky syntax from a copy and paste
What
that's
if I
happened
just
somewhere.
close that out and open up a new one?
Yeah, we can give that a shot.
One more simple.
Close. We got a bad request. So let's click the up arrow. See what we typed in again. All right, I think we need double equals. I think single equals as if we're doing JSON. Unless
Oh,
my memory might be
you know what? You're right, because I'm working on mutations
yep,
and trying to.
yep, yep, I hear that. There you
There we go.
go. Awesome. Very cool. Yeah, yeah, great job. Yeah, any questions from anyone for Trey or myself on that put route handler?
Apologies for the confusion, guys.
None at all. And that's the funny thing is like you write your code perfectly, then you're testing on the client and it's not working as expected, and then you're like, is my code wrong or is my client request wrong? And so it's always things to troubleshoot, but your code looked great. Sweet. Well, let me go ahead and do a screen share again. You should see my page right here. And let's take a quick look at the questions. So yeah, we'll go off the order of Zoom. We'll go with Trey. What is the purpose of the PG NPM package?
I said it allows you to connect and interact with a Postgres SQL database.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we'll go with Han. how do you tell PG which database to connect to?
There was a command pg dash dash the name. No, pg web. Wait, sorry, I'm not
Oh yeah. Yeah,
in
so
the
I think what it's hinting towards is not the terminal command to show, show it in the
yeah, it's
browser, but
yeah.
in the DB object that we're creating. How do we connect to a specific database?
Um,
I'll give you
Sorry,
right.
I didn't prepare this function, this question.
Oh yeah, no worries. So right here on line 6, if y'all can see my screen. Am I sharing right now? I think I'm sharing.
Oh,
Yeah, line 6. So we
oh,
just uh
yeah, yeah.
we just named the database at the end of this connection string. And then Ahmed, I'm gonna throw you on the spot. I know you're still playing catch up a little bit. How do you send SQL to Postgres from your SQL server?
So would that be the method db.query
Yep,
and then await the
absolutely.
response?
Yep, absolutely. And then we'll go back to Trey. How do you access the rows? So like the different records that get returned from an SQL query. What property is that?
Um, well, I just said you assign the rows array to to a variable.
Y- yeah, and you can assign it to a variable, or like in this example on line 21, you could just if you're responding back, you just respond back result.rows. So that this could have been, const films equals result dot rows, and then done films. Um, or without assigning to a variable, you could just respond back with the rows property. And then let's go with Han. What must you always remember to put around your asynchronous route handlers and why?
Uh, the the backslash, um, you and try catch block.
Yeah. So the try catch block are the main things that we're looking for. So any asynchronous behavior we want to have inside the
Um,
try block. And so if we do throw any errors, that our catch block will automatically handle that logic how we want to handle it. And then we'll go with Ahmed. What is an SQL injection attack, and how do you avoid it in PG?
So I said it's a type of attack where the attacker manipulates the SQL and inserts malicious data. And the way to avoid that would be using parameterized queries.
Yep, absolutely. And so yeah, if you're, if we're putting variables, uh, using string interpolation with our variables, someone with a form can actually like do an injection attack. I've never done that myself, so I haven't thought through all the tech of how to do that, but we want to make sure we safeguard our queries to prevent that from happening. So we can do that with that params that we passed in with our query. Um, Sweet. So let's go ahead and take a look at express mutations. And I'm guessing that at this point, you all have had a few minutes to walk through this exercise a little bit, kind of get a feel for it. And let's see, I don't want the curriculum. I've got my old coworker's laptop. I'm not sure if I mentioned this because my last one went kaput not too long ago. So still getting it acclimated to the dev environment setup of this one. So yeah, let's take a look at express mutations. And the main thing we're doing with this exercise is we are going to be um, updating our database. So we're going to be updating the by either adding a row, updating row, or creating a row. So we would think of that as mutations. And one of the main things that we're learning in this exercise is how to work with JSON. And so it's kind of hard to conceptualize like, okay, how does JSON become like a factor in all this? Because we got the params object, we got the queries object, and now we got JSON coming in. You can imagine the JSON coming in is going to come from when a user is filling out a form, and they're putting in like their name or their email or whatever. That on the React side of things, you're going to capture that form input into some sort of object, and then you're going to stringify it into JSON, and then you're going to hit a backend endpoint with that JSON, and that's what we're going to do something with. So hard to conceptualize when we're just making client requests here in the terminal. But when we get to the React side of things, it'll be more obvious of like, okay, here's the JSON part of the picture. So if it feels a little foggy with params and query and JSON, the context will be more clear when we put on the front end in a couple of days. So not only are we going to work with JSON in this exercise, but we are also going to think through sending back the right status codes. And we've done that a little bit with sending back a 404. And we see that we get that 200 response automatically when something has successfully happened. But if we were to create something for the post request, we want to send back a 201 status code. If we're to delete something, we want to send back a 204, no content. If it's a bad request, we've done this, the 400, and then the 500 is just part of our error handling. So that's kind of baked in. So we have some experience with that. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I'm in the right context here. So SQL or express mutations, mine is listed with a directory of 2 at the end, just because I've had this in here before. So I got that running. Let me clear this out. This is where I'll go ahead and do my client requests in this middle pane. This third pane is just PG web. So let me make sure I was doing a dry run through all the full stack project stuff we're going to start next week. So I've got a bunch of extra tabs open. So let me go to Pagilla, make sure everything's up and running. Awesome. So in our starter code, let's go ahead. And we'll see that we already have this endpoint in here. API actors, actor ID. So this is already written for us. You don't have to do anything. We're just going to, and you're not given instruction to do this. It's just to kind of like test everything is up and running. On my end, I already did npm install and whatnot. So I'm just going to hit this endpoint, see if it works. HTTP, localhost, 8080, API, actors, and I know there's a 5 in there. And so we got that actor. Johnny Lolo Brigida. So cool. We got someone. It seems like we're all connected. Everything's good. We're ready to go. So in server.ts, we're going to use Express JSON middleware, and this is going to parse any incoming JSON that we have coming in. I'm not gonna follow steps 2 and 3 just because I want to demonstrate what happens if we don't use them. So I'm gonna intentionally not do that. It's gonna create an issue later on, and if for some reason my brain doesn't remember that, you all can say like, hey, we forgot to set up the middleware to handle JSON. I'm sure I'll remember, but let's work on this create route. And again, we don't have that middleware set up to handle the JSON. So we're going to add a route to our app that responds to post requested API actors. And I apologize if you all have already done this, but I do want to kind of just like talk through this. So already making a mistake. It's a post to API actors. And we want to insert an actor into our actors table. So that means we're going to have to interact with the database, asynchronous behavior. So with our rec res and next, we need to make this async. Rec res next. And then we'll go ahead and set up our try catch because we have that asynchronous behavior of querying our database. And next, error. And then the first thing I basically always do is I do console.log post API actors. And let's go ahead and hit this HTTP 8080 API. Oh, post 8080. Let me clear this out. I was getting this weird situation with my terminals where the characters get out of place, even though like the computer will run it correctly as I write it, the visual just doesn't match up. So HTTP post 8080 API actors. And so I get that console.log post API actors was hit. Obviously this we're hanging up on the client end because we didn't send anything back. So I'll go ahead and kill that. And then we want to go ahead and insert the first and last name. So we're gonna have to write a query for the first name and the last name to pass those in. So first I need to get those as JSON. We would get them from our JSON. So we're given it in our documentation where we're shown what this should look like. So we're gonna make a query from our client, post 8080 API actors, first name Brendan, last name Ike. I've already done this, so I'm gonna go ahead and why? Clear. Sorry, this is really looking goofy. $80 API actors first name equals. I'm just gonna do my name, last name. Okay, so when we are sending JSON, we're using a single equals instead of a double equals, so we'll keep that in mind. And what we should get back is a 201 for created and just the object. So not the rows property that has our object in an array, but we just want to pass back the object in this situation. So that's the goal of this endpoint. So currently, and the way that we would get that is we would get that off of the rec.body. So console.log rec.body. So off the request object, there's a body property, and that body property is going to be an object full of any JSON that we've passed in. So I'm going to save that, hit this endpoint, and then we see console.log rec.body is undefined. And it's undefined because we haven't set up our app to parse JSON yet. So that's your big clue. If you're ever trying to log rec.body or do something with rec.body and it's undefined, that means that you haven't set your app up, the middleware to parse JSON. So we'll go ahead and do that. So const, app.use express, what is it, static, or express JSON. Where's my mind at? Let's double check that. And that was steps 1 and 2, right? Express JSON. So this should parse our middleware. So now I'm going to go ahead and hit that endpoint again. And we're console.logging what rec.body looks like. And there it is. So rec.body looks like this object that has a first name property of Rob, a last name property of Merrill. And so now basically we are ready to do the rest of our work, right? So const SQL equals insert into actors, and then I think it's first name, doing this from memory, so I'll probably goof something up. Values, and that's going to be, we'll do $1 and $2. And then I think we want to do, we need to return, returning. So now we can go ahead and const results equals await db.query, and we'll go ahead and do SQL, and then our array of rec.body.firstname and rec.body.lastname. That looks a little messy. Like I would probably create variable. I'd probably like destructure them up above to get the name, first name, and last name into variable names. So this looks a little messy to me, but just for our purposes, I'll go ahead and leave it. So const actor equals, oh, let's go ahead and console.log results. And we'll do results.rows because ultimately we know that what we're going to want to get is off of result.rows. So let's go ahead and do this. And we can see that, there we go. Actor 202 was created. If we look in our database, we'll see at the very end, that person was created. And so we need to make sure to send this back to the client. Just because that's the specs of the API is to send back an object. So this is an array. We don't want to send back an array. We want to send back an object. So res.send, and then actually, or we'll do this without sending the status yet. We want to send back result.rows at index 0, or res. Oh yeah, results plural. And let's go ahead and do this and add an S to Merrill's to create someone new. And here we go. We can see that we sent this back to the client. It's just an object as we expected. If we refresh the actors database, we'll see that last name with S. But then note the last thing that we need to fix is we're sending back a status message of 200. And according to our specs for the create, we want to send back a status of 201, right? So to do that, we can just do res.status, and then we pass in the status code, 201. So now let's go ahead and do this again one more time. We'll add a second S. And now we can see that the status right here is a 201, and the message is changed to created. So the main ingredients of what we're doing is we're making sure to parse middleware or to parse JSON, that we're using this middleware. And I'm doing this right here just before any of my route handlers. If you knew for a fact that you weren't going to use this middleware until you got to this post, you could have it here and it would be fine as well because you don't need it for the this first GET request. And then we are just also making sure that we understand that like to this rec.body, this body will not be accessible, right? It's going to be undefined if we're not parsing middleware or parsing JSON. Once we're parsing JSON, then it won't be undefined anymore. At the very least, it will be an object. So for instance, let me just go ahead and do this without passing in any JSON. We're going to get some errors here. Oh, I didn't save this. Here, wait. We can see right here this console.log, where I console.log direct.body, it was just an empty object. So there's some other issues going on because I didn't do the JSON, so our code's breaking in other ways. But if you do see, if you do log something as not undefined, it means that yes, you are parsing the JSON. So that part is set up correctly. And this issue was I just didn't have the JSON that I was passing in. So I should have some error handling to handle that. Cool. So that's a little bit of an introduction. And then obviously you're just going to do 2 more routes. You're going to do an update and you're going to do a delete as well. So any thoughts or questions before we kind of continue to work on this morning? Sweet. Well, I think the plan of action is we will do express mutations. I'm assuming 11:30 at the latest. If these get submitted earlier, we might do this at 11, but because we're all taking a break, I think 11:30 would be a good time to jump on that, and then we'll move on to express CRUD, which will be kind of like another larger exercise that should carry us through the rest of the days and set us up into getting into our React stuff a day early, which would be great. So I'll let you dive in. Reach out if you have any questions along the way. If not, we'll reconvene around 11:30. All right. See you all in a bit. Hmm. All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back from lunch. We'll go ahead and jump into the Q&A for this exercise, which would be the two of you kind of walking through the next two route handlers. So actually, let me stop sharing my screen. And I think, Han, we have you set up first to take us through the update route handler.
Here's my screen, okay?
Yeah, it looks great.
Okay. So for the update, I need to update the record based on the actor ID. And so I use put method um, of app object. And first is a URL
Hmm.
API slash actors slash the actor ID, the column actor ID, and this part will are dynamically extracted by the Express. And then for my callback function, I use a sync function. Inside it, I have a try catch block. Um, so I first need to extract the actor ID. I put in the URL. So I use request.params to get it, and then I need to get the first name and last name in the request body.
Hmm.
And then I need to do some ver verification, see if the number, if the actor ID the user entered is a number. If not, it will throw an error. And same for the body part, the first name and last name. If user didn't enter, then well, I'll throw an error, say both first name and last name are required. Um, After that, I write a query update actors table, set the column name to the first input of the dependent array, and last name. Wait, what did I do? And last name for the second input of a dependent array, and where the actor ID is the third input of dependent array, and return the modified string statement. And then I run this query by running db the query method of database object, and with first argument being the SQL statement, and and the dependent array will be well in the corresponding position as I wrote in the SQL statement. So first name will be first, last name the second, the actor ID the third. And I store the result into the variable result. And and if the user enter the actor ID that's not exist in the database, um, I then result a row wouldn't find it, so it doesn't exist. So the this will return a false. And in that case, it will throw an arrow that actor ID not found. And if it does found, we'll store it will store in the restart rows the first element of rows array, and I need to use response.json, turn it into a JSON format. Um, and if I catch any arrow, let's throw arrow.
Mhm. Awesome. Yeah, yeah. Great job. Do you want to go ahead and run that in the terminal real quick?
Um, well, yeah, I believe this one doesn't. Let me. I think this one will not run because I run the last one delete.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
so the 203 doesn't exist. Let's see. So not
Okay.
fun. But if I do a 202, then it will turn the actor ID 202, the first name and last name will change to James Gosling.
Mhm. Awesome. Great. And then yeah, really quick, and this isn't a critique, you did this correctly. Um on line 74, we use the plus operator on actor ID. Why do you do that?
Uh, so this plus will turn the actor ID string to an integer.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because when we do get things from the coming in, when we do get those values from our endpoint, even though you have like an endpoint of like 4, that's still interpreted as a string. So you want to take it and turn it into a number, so you can do that
So I
check.
can run this. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, very good. Sweet. Trey, any thoughts or questions for Han or myself on that put route?
No, that was good.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, sorry I said line 74 for the delete. I know you covered the put, but you did the same little logic there for that plus actor ID. Cool. Yeah, so Trey, if you want to go ahead and walk us through the delete route handler, that'd be great.
Can y'all see my screen okay?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So, um, I got the delete. So it's we're gonna delete from the API actors with the actor ID. So this is the route to delete the actor in the actors table by actor ID. Um, so I define the delete route at the API actors actor ID route parameter. And then I use the async function. And inside the async function, the first thing I did was the try block. Um, and then I defined or extracted the value from the URL. So the actor ID, the params are assigned to um, deconstructed. Is that the word? I'm sorry.
Destructured.
Destructured. Sorry.
Mhm.
And then next I assigned the SQL query statement
Mhm.
to the variable SQL or SQL. And then uh, assigned the actor ID array to the variable params. And then I'm going to execute the query using the Postgres SQL pull the DB query using the await to ensure that it doesn't that we await for the operation to complete before we move on. And then I assign that to the variable result. And then, sorry. move down a little bit. And then on the if, I'm checking that if there are no rows, then I'll return a status of 404 that there was no actor found, or the actor ID that returned no actor. And then I'm gonna, if we do find, or if it does find the actor, then I'll respond. The response will be the the status 204, and it was successfully deleted.
Mhm.
And then the catch error and the next error, if there are any errors that occur during the execution.
Sweet. All right. Yeah, let's go ahead and demo um, that.
So, yeah, sorry. So as you can see, I do have an actor ID of 204
Mhm.
Yogi Berra. So
Nice.
here I will delete that.
Uh-oh.
I've been having issues with this today, so I apologize
Yeah,
here.
no worries.
And obviously it's still there, so let me try this again here. Sorry,
Yep,
guys.
no problem.
I found for some reason if I don't put localhost, it gives me errors.
Hmm.
If I just do the colon 8080, it doesn't like it.
Okay. There we go.
So I got the response back this time, but
Hmm.
you don't know what was deleted. That was my question.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good question.
So
Yeah,
to
so
verify, we have to come back over here to the actors table,
yeah.
and we can see that it was deleted. There is no 204.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So usually it's a yeah, in this situation, we're doing with like the instructions said. And so in this case, we just don't want to send anything back to the user. And so like that's intentional. And that's what that 204 means. It means no content. So that's why um we're not sending anything back, but we're giving them that status message. So when they see that 204, they know like, okay, it was successful. I didn't get anything, but that's okay because that's I wasn't supposed to get anything according to how this endpoint was constructed. So that's the feedback you're giving to someone. So if we scroll up a little bit, um, um, a good a question, this could be for any of you, is since we weren't returning that deleted user to the user like on line 88 where we have the returning asterisk. Since we don't send something back to the user, what role does this play? Do any of you have any ideas?
Be for the server itself, wouldn't it?
Which part?
Um, it would be Express, right?
Yeah, yeah. So specifically, it would come into play on line 94, right? Because we want to, if nothing was returned, like we have to check that returning will let us know what was deleted. And that's what we're checking on line 94 for result.rows at 0. And so if nothing was returned, then that means that nothing was found. And that's why we're able to log that 404 actor not found line of code if nothing was there. So if we didn't have that line 88, we wouldn't be able to run the logic of lines 94 through 96. So that's why on line 88, we need to make sure that we got that returned object of what was deleted. So we knew that something was in fact deleted. Um, something else on line 98 that you could probably do a little bit cleaner is let's copy out 98. let's yeah, just comment out, and then let's on a new line. Um, we could do res so on the response object. And I'm not sure which documentation, but we did, it was slightly addressed at one point with like a link to some documentation that we could do the dot send status. So all one word, yeah. And then in parentheses put in 204. And so this allows us to do both things at once. It allows us to set the status and send it. So instead of on line 98, where you had to do the status, set it to 204, and then send, this is just a nice little method that if you're not really sending anything else and you're only sending the status, you can use that method. Just a little bit cleaner to write and maybe to read. So nothing wrong with the approach before. This one might just be a little bit cleaner. Yeah. Any questions or thoughts for myself or Trey on that route handler? Yeah, okay. Cool. Yeah, good job, Trey. Let me go ahead and share my screen now. And we just have a couple quick questions. So, Han, what is the significance of HTTP request method?
Uh, it it has four method, put, get, post, delete.
Mhm. Yeah. And so, yeah, so in general, we have those different methods. And it tells the server the expected behavior, right? Whether we should be reading data, updating data or whatnot. But it is really conventional only. What really matters is when we hit the endpoint is the logic, we have inside of it, right? So we could have something be a delete endpoint, and we could still do post functionality within it. It wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't be very like human readable like logic. But ultimately, the guts of what we do inside of the endpoint is going to be what matters the most. But these are conventions that we follow on the back end. Trey, what is the significance of an HTTP responsive status?
So I said it indicates the intended action client wanted to make.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah, we give them back like 200 successful, 201, like, yep, you created something, 204. Yeah, something was successfully deleted. Don't expect a response. Yeah, 400 errors, client side error, 500 errors, server side error. And then lastly, Han, what does the express JSON method middleware do, and when would you need it?
It convert if they convert a string to a JSON string, and uh, when need it when I need a JSON format data.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to see in a couple exercises how we're going to get that JSON data from the front end from like a form or whatnot. And then we're going to need that to work with that JSON material that comes in. So yeah, next exercise, just want to kind of give a preview, is I'm sure you've all maybe had a chance to glimpse at it, is going to be express CRUD. So CD express, whoops. There we go. I'm gonna close this. Express CRUD. And let me close this one. Get PG Web going. All right, so for Express CRUD, we're really just gonna do like the same thing as we've been doing the past couple exercises, just to really reinforce everything, but we're gonna have all the CRUD functionality. So we're gonna have a route handler to get all the grades. get grades by ID. And for each one of them, if we do successfully get all the grades, give back that 200. Get a grade by an ID, give them back a status of 200. 404, right? If the grade doesn't exist in the database, right? If it's not found, we're gonna have a post route. So the create functionality to create a grade, give the user the feedback of the grade um, was successfully inserted. 400 if there was something missing, right? 500 if the query failed, like on the server side. Then we're going to have the update of CRUD, where we're going to update a specific grade by ID. At 200 if we successfully do that. 400 client side if there's something missing or invalid on the client side. A 404 if it doesn't exist, and then a 500 for the server. And then we're going to have the delete functionality of CRUD. So we're going to find the grade by a specific ID, and we're going to send back a 204 if we successfully delete it, 400 for an invalid grade ID, 404 if the grade doesn't exist, and then 500 if the query fails. So in setting up this project, let me get to the starter code. Express CRUD. Here it is right here. We want to make sure that we do npm install and then npm run dev. And then Trey and I ran into this, so it's part of the reason why I want to demonstrate it. And Trey, I thought I wasn't getting the same issue as you, but that's just because I hadn't switched directories to the correct one. Part of the instructions are, we got to have our database set up. You all should have all that set up, but if you don't for any reason, you just follow the instructions to import in the schema and the starter code. But after you do the npm install like I just did, I ran npm run dev and I got this error. And so let's inspect this error a little bit. Okay. Let me clean this up. Oops. And you can see that npm run dev was running this command, this script of tsx watch server.ts. And so there's a bunch of stuff in here. It might be hard to translate. But ultimately, we get a little bit of a direction of this URL server.ts. And that should probably help like get us thinking like, okay, there's something about the server.ts that's not quite right. And so you might look at the package.json file. And this would confirm that we saw in the terminal that when we run npm run dev, that tsx watch server.ts is our command. And then we would notice that like, oh, you know what? When I do look in here, I don't see that there's a server.ts file. And so if we start reading to the next sentence, it says you will need to create a server.ts. So it tells us to do that, but it tells us to do it out of order. Like I really feel like this sentence here needs to be before we tell you to run your server with npm run dev. So I just wanted to highlight that we need to update our instructions. So server.ts. So now when you have that going, that's going to clear up that initial error you get in the terminal. Obviously, our app's not going to be functional because we haven't written any of the code in server.ts. So you're going to start from totally scratch, but a great reference file will just be that express mutations exercise you just did for what to import, how to connect to your database. You're doing all that from scratch, but you do have everything that was there before. And then oh, actually, I guess I did skip a step. For some reason, I thought we were using our old database for the Pagilla, but you will need to go through the step of creating the student grade table database. I'm sorry, I totally just misread that. So you'll create that. We already have a data.sql and a schema.sql. So just for the sake of being thorough, I'll go ahead and run these instructions just so we can make sure that our output is what we'd expect. So we're gonna get our schema and create our seed data. And then I'm going to run PG web. Check that out in the browser. Student grade table, grades. So we should see something like this. If you do not come up with those results when you're setting up your database, reach out to me. And then from there, you're going to write basically your 5 different endpoints. So again, it's really just doing everything we've been doing before. And I think this repetition is good because we're going to need to do this on our full stack project. So really kind of getting these fundamentals down will pay off. So we'll spend the rest of the day working on that. If I do have any PRs come in today, I'm going to go ahead and release Fetch and React. It won't be homework. It'll just be something if you're just curious about what our next exercise as we start to connect the front end to the back end. I'll pass that out. My assumption is because we're just getting started on Express and CRUD, get as much done as you can today. There's a good chance you could finish it, but I will probably give us some time tomorrow morning, maybe like another hour or so to tie up any loose ends, use me as a resource in the morning to get unblocked or whatnot. So we have the rest of the today and a fair chunk of time tomorrow morning to work on the Express CRUD. Any thoughts or questions on yeah, those directions and what should be a priority right now? Okay, awesome. Yeah, well, dive in. There's no way we'll do a Q&A on Express Cred by the end of the day. So there's not necessarily an end of the day meeting. Obviously, I'm here through 5, so reach out to me if you have any questions. If you want to jump into a breakout room, chat about anything, definitely there for that as well. So if I don't hear from you before 5 today, we'll see you all tomorrow morning to kick off the day. So see you all in a bit.